and we're going to start to work with these. Under Window, if we go down to Pathfinder, we can open up this palette. Okay. And what happens is it opens up a palette that looks like this, and it's called the Pathfinder palette. It has shape modes and what's called pathfinders. Each one of these objects or buttons does a certain object or action to your shapes, right? So the shape modes, basically we have unite, we have minus front, intersect, and then exclude. And then we have divide, trim, merge, crop, outline, and minus back. So the icons actually show you or indicate what those tools do, and so we're going to explore that in a second. So I'm going to select both of these shapes, press D on the keyboard to get the default colors, and as these two shapes overlap, if you select them both and select unite, what happens is they combine forces and they share the same stroke outline. So we just created a pineapple. It's a sideways pineapple. Unite allows you to do that. Now, if I press Command Z to undo, I can also, I'm going to zoom in. I'm holding Command and spacebar to zoom in. Command Option spacebar allows me to zoom out. Spacebar, click and drag allows me to move my page around. Okay, so I'm zooming in. If you put your mouse over Unite, it says if you hold the Option key and click, you'll create what's called a compound shape. And it says basically you'll be able to add to the shape area, right? So if I select both of them, hold the Option key, and click, what happens now is it gives you the illusion that they're united. But if you use the group selection tool, which is the arrow with the plus, I can take this shape and modify its position and interactively change how they look and work together. I can also go into the star shape and possibly add points, rotate it. I can still interact with that shape.
So you do that after you unite them?
Well, if I hold shift and I hold option and click, then I can still interact with the shape after they're already united. Yep. But if you only click on the button, then it's going to make it more of a permanent shape. If you look in your layers property, what it looks like is it's called a compound shape, and basically it puts it into a certain type of group, and then each individual object is inside that compound shape. Now what happens if I wanted to add, let's say, a square or rectangle to this? So if I create this square rectangle and I add that to the compound shape group, oh my goodness, what's going on here? It's so cool. So now I'm just building in a different way. I'm interactively creating based off of new shapes. Okay, so this is the shape modes in terms of how you interact with the unite. Now, if we take these same three shapes I'm going to duplicate them. And it was in a compound shape, right? So I want to release or expand it. So if I push expand on this button, basically what happens is it makes it into a permanent shape. But what I want to do is I want to take those three shapes in here, and instead of expanding it, I want to play with some of these other options. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to go to Object, Compound Path. Actually, I'm going to have to go here. Go here, and then I'm going to just drag these elements outside because I'm supposed to be able to release these things. So you can do it from the options bar in Pathfinder. Option, released compound shape. And so what it does is it releases them from their sharing the same path. And then I can do some other things with it. So using two shapes at a time, if they're overlapping, I can select them both, and I can click on minus front, which is going to take whatever's on front and take it away from the back shape. I can do intersect, and then I'm going to interactively do some of these things by holding option. So I say minus front, and that means that now the circle's still there, but it's not visible. And if I kind of play around with this and move it around, I can kind of get some cool things that are happening. Now, one of the things that I like to do with this one is I can scale this shape down a little bit and kind of cut out the middle, and then you get this kind of interactive shape that gives you these little star points or tips. And then you can also, just move that shape around, and you can get different results. And then I'm going to undo that, or I can select them both and just release. And then I can play around with hold option and click on the intersect. So now whatever is intersecting is going to be kept. Release. Exclude means basically cutting a hole in something. So if I just do maybe this and click on exclude, if I put a color, let's say this becomes red, and it is basically behind the shape. Now it's like a window because I clicked on exclude. And because interactive, actually I didn't choose the interactive option, but if I did, I would have been able to play around with how they interact with each other. This one is divide. The divide is pretty cool because if I click on divide with the group selection tool, I'm able to take individual pieces away. So how they intersect and overlap, I can divide it into sections. And I'm just using Command Z to go back and undo what I did. The trim is pretty cool because where they overlap, there's a line that usually kind of happens here, and if I press trim, that means that this shape is going to take away the back part of the circle shape, and it's going to make that shape less complex when it has to calculate. So I press trim, and basically I'm left with this shape and this shape, but I have to apply another, like the default color, to bring it back. So it's almost like divide, but it gives you less calculations in terms of making things visible or having the computer calculate what's being covered up by another thing. Merge. Merge is like it's like unite, but I'm not sure why um, it's not unite. So it just kind of does the same thing, but also it takes away the value of the color and everything like that. And then you have crop, which leaves you with these two different pieces. Again, you have to press D on the keyboard, and it gives you those individual parts. And outline gives you all of the outlines that you needed for something else. And again, if you do this, you get those lines back. And so the Pathfinder seemed to just kind of merge or take away parts of the shape, but does not leave the stroke or outline for you. And then the shape modes allow you to interactively kind of work with the shapes and not lose the some of the properties that you have associated with the shape. Okay, and so this is a lesson on using the Pathfinder and being able to modify the elements in that property and being able to interactively take elements and add them so that you get new shapes. So it's actually pretty interesting. Okay. This is the Pathfinder. Any questions? Okay. Huh? Yeah. But I mean, just in a simplistic way, two shapes that overlap each other. One is going to unite it so that they share the outline. The other one, if you have one shape behind the other one, you have like a minus front, so it'll take away from the shape that's below. And then intersect is going to leave the part where they intersect. This one is going to exclude the part where they intersect. So it kind of gives you an indication, each one of the icon, it looks exactly like the function that it does.